Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Living Beyond Limits. I am Reverend Jennifer Spear. We are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living. I'm so glad that you've come to join us this morning and to spend your morning with us and with each other. Let's read our mission statement together that's on the front of your bulletin.
I can't have anything on the piano. Sorry, I had to kick that off.
We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that is one of the reasons that I am showing up here today, is because what it is that we do here at Live Beyond Limits allows us to reconnect with our own spiritual nature, with the presence of the infinite one that expresses in and through and around and as everything in this universe. It allows us to reconnect consciously with that presence, that expresses within us as our very own wholeness, as our very own authentic power, as the love that is within us and the peace that is within us. Because once we come to recognize that that is innate to our own beingness, it puts us in a place of power. Because then when we are out in the world and the world is not reflecting back to us love or peace or kindness or whatever it is, we aren't such victims to that because we can choose, oh yes, that love is already within me. I can bring love to the conversation even though it isn't already present. I can be peace in this moment even though this is not peaceful out here. As we do that, we become a beneficial presence to ourselves and in whatever conversation and relationship we are in. And because everything is connected to everything else and part of the whole, we actually affect the whole also. Our consciousness moves out to affect the whole of humanity. And so I thank every single one of you for walking this path, for saying yes to the call of your own spirit, that divine essence within you, to be being a beneficial presence in the world. Thank you for that. Well, you may have all recognized that I wasn't here last week. And so last week I actually went on vacation to Vancouver and Victoria, British Columbia. The purpose of going on that vacation was to go to Bouchard Gardens, which I'd never been to before. And if you don't know, Bouchard Gardens is a 440-acre garden that is supposed to be one of the most beautiful gardens in the world. And so that had been on my bucket list to do for at least 25 years. I think 25 years ago I had a trip planned and I ended up having to cancel it, and then I'd never been back and wanting to do that for the past 25 years. And so on Bouchard Gardens' website, they advertise that the best time of the year to come is the month of April and the first half of May. Because in addition to the myriad of plants and trees and things that they have, they also plant 300,000 bulbs that bloom in April and May. And so I was so excited, we decided that's the best time to go. And so in January, I booked our trip, and I booked the hotel and the airfare and stuff, expecting the high to be probably around 60 degrees, maybe high 50 to mid 60s, something like that. Well, the weather forecast said it was 60 the week before that, but the week that we went, the weather forecast predicted a high of 47 and rain the entire week. And so we got there, and it was raining, and it was super cold. You know, we don't really have that kind of cold weather clothes so much. Do I need to say that I was really disappointed? I'd been waiting so long for this vacation. And so I was super disappointed, and in my head was moaning and whining and complaining, I can't believe this, I've waited all this time for this, and the weather has to be like this, wah, 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 wah in my head. Do you guys do that? So the second day that we were there, we were taking an Uber somewhere, and the Uber driver says, you know, there's a saying in Vancouver, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. It created an entire shift in my thinking, and it changed my entire vacation because of that. 2 days before we went, I saw the forecast of rain, so I bought myself some waterproof rain pants, and I had a waterproof jacket. I had brought a wool sweater and a scarf and a hat and wool socks and hiking boots and all that kind of stuff. So we donned our cold weather rain clothes and went out into the city because we started in Vancouver, and we had such a good time. We saw fabulous architecture, and we ate really good food, and we went hiking in the woods, and we took the ferry, an hour-and-a-half ferry ride over to Victoria, which was a beautiful ferry ride over and seeing all the pine trees along the coast and the ocean. And we went to Victoria Gardens, and we had a great time. But my change in perspective changed my entire experience. It changed my entire trip. So the problem is, for all of us, when things don't go according to our plans, when things don't go the way we want them to go, whether it's with the weather, or whether it's with a job that you have, maybe losing your job or not getting a promotion or not getting the job that you wanted, or whether it's an issue in a relationship, or a health challenge, or a vacation, the problem is when things don't go according to the way we want them to go, we start worrying, we start complaining, we get into fear, we get into concern. The problem is we get stuck in negative thinking. But you know what? The real problem is not the negative thinking. The underlying problem is our limited thinking. It's our being stuck in one particular perspective, thinking that that is the only perspective, the only way, thinking that our perspective is reality. When we get stuck in that negative thinking, so often we start saying things like, it'll never work out, this will never get resolved, things will never be okay, things will never be good again. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. Do you do that? The sky is falling. Oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that. And so do you have one of those things in your life right now? Some place that you feel stuck, some place that you feel like you can't move forward, some place where things aren't going the way that you want them to go. So you have a story going on in your head. This is the way things are, this is the way things are going to be, things are never going to change, there's no way forward, there's no way out, whatever that is. Do you have one of those right now that you can find in your thinking? And so you see how that one perspective is limited thinking. It's not just negative thinking, it's limited. There's only this option or this way, or you can't even see one. Stuck in that perspective, thinking that it's the only reality. Krishnamurti, who was an Indian philosopher and spiritual leader, said, "The desire to be certain is the beginning of bondage. It is only when the mind is not caught in the net of certainty that it is in a state of discovery." We are so certain that that perspective that we have is right, that that's the thing that creates the bondage for us. We are so certain that that perspective is correct that it doesn't leave room for the good of the universe to unfold itself in our lives. But on the other hand, in our openness to possibilities, in our openness to other perspectives, in our openness to other ideas, what happens is we are then able to discover new ways, new ideas, new ways forward, new solutions. Because in that openness, we're open to something new coming in. In our openness, we stop limiting life. We cease limiting life's expression to us and through us. Makes me think of like a beach ball. If you look at a beach ball, you can look at that beach ball and be absolutely convinced that that beach ball is red and yellow and blue. But if you go to the other side of the beach ball and look from a different perspective, it is orange and aqua and green. It's not that one perspective isn't correct. It's just that there is another perspective also. Your perspective isn't the whole picture. As human beings, we want to have efficacy in our lives. We want to be able to find solutions to our problems. We want to be able to find a way forward when it looks like there is no way forward or when things aren't working. We want to be able to know that we are supported by life, that we are supported in succeeding, that we are supported in thriving and in flourishing, that we are supported in living a fulfilling, joy-filled life. And we are. That is what life does. It supports us in living a fulfilling life. Ultimately, we want all of those things, to know that we're supported and to find a way forward and all those things, because ultimately we want to live with a sense of peace and well-being. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this philosophy, asks us, how much life, abundance, good, truth, and beauty can we mentally entertain? This is the measure of our possible experience. This is the mold of our acceptance. The infinite fills all molds and flows forever into new and greater ones. It is the unborn possibility of limitless experience, and we give birth to it. We give birth to that limitlessness of the divine, to that creative intelligence, to the good of life that is always expressing when we are open to it, when we have an open mind and an open perspective. We live in an infinite creative presence, and it is always expressing and always seeking to express in greater ways. So when we are open to the fact that there might be other possibilities, or that there are other possibilities than the one that we are seeing or not seeing, that opens us to the creative flow of the universe. It gives good a place to express. And so the title of my talk today is, What's Your Angle? And I'm talking about that our perspective creates our experience. The angle that we are taking, our perspective creates our experience. And our perspective opens us to possibilities or closes us off from possibilities, one or the other. I'm talking about that we live in infinite possibility. That's the nature of life, infinite potentiality. And it awaits our discovering it, so that it might express, so that it might unfold itself in ever fuller ways. Because it is its nature to do so. It is its nature to unfold, to evolve, to express in expanded ways, to continue to unfold. That's the nature of life. But like a river, that flow of life can be dammed, it can be diverted, it can be blocked, but it can never be stopped. We absolutely divert that good from us, often, through our limited thinking, and we open ourselves to that flow through our possibility thinking, through our openness, through our curiosity, through positive thinking. I used to go to workshops with a man, Dr. Lee Gibson, that used to teach workshops. And one of the things that we did in one of his workshops was come up with something, someplace where you felt stuck in your life, where you felt like there was no way forward, where you'd drawn a conclusion about something that just wasn't going to work or didn't have an answer, something where you felt hopeless or felt like there was no way forward. And so what you did was you came up with, what is it that I'm telling myself? What is this story? And we would partner up with someone. And so you would tell your partner that story or the statement. What is this statement that I'm telling myself? And then the other person would ask you, what else could be true? And you'd say something, and then they'd say, and what else could be true? And you'd say something, what else could be true? It was a brainstorming kind of exercise. No editing, No poo-pooing anything, just letting anything that came to your mind just come forward and tell that person. So let me give you an example. So let's say that my story was that I'm driving an old car and it's old and it's starting to die and I need to buy a new car and I can't afford a new car. So I tell my partner that. And they say, what else could be true? Well, I could get it fixed. And what else could be true? I could win the lottery. What else could be true? I could get a really good deal on a car. And what else could be true? I could take Uber everywhere, and maybe that's cheaper than buying a car and paying registration and paying for gas and insurance. And what else could be true? Someone could give me a car. And what else could be true? I could get a scooter. And what else could be true? I could get an electric bike. And what else could be true? I could look for a used car. And what else could be true? Well, my neighbor's getting a new car. Maybe I could buy his old car and he'd let me make payments to him. But that brainstorming opens us up to other possibilities. And so I'm going to have you do that exercise now. You have a little pink piece of paper in your bulletin. So what I want you to do is think of what is some problem that you're having, some place that you feel stuck, some place where you can't find the solution, some place where you're telling yourself it's never going to work. And what is that statement? Just to bring it to mind, what is that statement? So instead of me asking, I don't know how fast you're going to write, instead of me asking what else could be true, what else could be true, what I want you to do, say that statement in your mind, and then to ask yourself what else could be true and to write it down. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Let's get the last pen over here. Is everybody set now? I'm going to give you 1 minute to come up with 10 things. Ready? Go. So what else could be true besides what you're telling yourself? And wrap up that last idea. So it only took you like a minute and a half to come up with all sorts of other perspectives of what could possibly be true, what could possibly happen, what could possibly be a way forward. That exercise opens us up to possibilities that already exist. It opens us up to possibilities that we have not been able to see because we've been so locked in one perspective, only looking at this side of the beach ball, not seeing the rest of it. We aren't able to see when we get locked in any particular perspective, it's a limited perspective. And so last week, the last time that I spoke 2 weeks ago, I talked about faith. And one of the things that I talked about is part of faith is knowing that when we can't see a way forward, that there is a way forward, even when we can't see it. It is also trusting that we will see it, that way forward, when it is possible, and we will see it in a way that we can easily understand. That's part of faith. You know, each and every single one of us, we are all on a soul journey. And I think part of that soul journey is about leaning into that place within us that knows. That place within us that knows that there is so much more than what we are seeing with our human eyes, than this human limited experience that we are having. I think part of that spiritual path is leaning into that knowingness. I think it's leaning into knowing that there's a bigger picture than what we see. And there's something within us that already knows we can trust, already knows that we are safe, already knows that we are taken care of, already knows that good is the very nature of life. So part of cultivating faith then, I think, is knowing that the perspective that we hold at any given moment, our human perspective, is not the only perspective. And it's not the only truth, and it's not all that there is. Ernest Holmes said, "Why is it so difficult to have faith? The answer is simple enough. We are so weighted with experiences that contradict faith. It is not easy to turn from negative conditions to a positive faith in spirit. Carefully, we should cultivate the smallest spark of faith, and we should always be reminding ourselves that there is a power upon which we may rely. We must throw ourselves with complete abandonment into this power, for it will never fail us. Will you say that with me? There's a power upon which I may rely. It will never fail me. So regardless of what challenge you're having in your life, you can always lay that on top of whatever story that you're telling yourself. There is a power upon which I may rely, and it will never fail me. You can overlay everything with that belief. You can ask yourself, what else could be true in this moment? And so my invitation to you this week is, when you feel stuck, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel triggered, when you feel hopeless, to ask yourself at any of those times, what else could be true? What else could be true besides what I'm thinking in this moment where I'm all stirred up and upset? What else could be true here? And look for other perspectives besides the one that you've been holding. Look beyond whatever it is that's keeping you in that mental, emotional state that you don't want to be in. Look for something else that could be true. And know that the very nature of life is expansion, and it is unfolding, it is evolving. The nature of life is to bear fruit. And know that its very essence, the essence of the life that you are living, is creativity and intelligence. That imbues everything in this entire world. Intelligence and creativity. And it also imbues the exact moment that you are in where you haven't yet seen the answer. Know that life supports you in thriving. Life supports you in succeeding. Because in your thriving, in your flourishing, life is getting to express itself in a greater way. And that's what it seeks to do. That means that your life then is for you, that life is for you, that life is for your flourishing and for your succeeding. And know that life always moves forward and never moves backward. And as a result of that, new doors will be opening to you. New ways will show up. You will be flourishing as those doors open before you. You will be flourishing and living with a deep sense of well-being and with peace. And so blessings to every single one of you on this path of remembering who you are, this path of spirit, this path of unfolding your own magnificence and creating your greatest life that life supports you in creating. So blessings to all of you. And so I invite you right now to join me in an affirmative prayer, to join me in turning our consciousness to the truth, the capital T truth. The capital T truth is that presence, that infinite one, by whatever name we choose to call it, God, Spirit, life, Christ, mind, cosmic Christ, Buddha mind, life, the universe, whatever you tend to call it, that it is omnipresent, that it is always right where we are in its fullness. For that one spirit, that one presence cannot be broken into parts and pieces. It is the fullness of itself everywhere. The fullness of that presence at the center of my mind, the fullness of that presence at the center of my life, the fullness of that presence at the point of my fingertip. For all that Spirit is omnipresent, is available, is here for the taking, is here for the expressing. All love, all peace, all good, all intelligence, all creativity, all power, harmony, and order, all of it. And so today, we recognize that we are absolutely one with that presence, that it is expressing itself as our very spirit. We are individuations of that light of the divine, here expressing in human form, that one is expressing itself as our life, for our life is the only life that there is. And so what I know then is that whatever we are seeking, whatever our hearts are desiring, is already available in the absolute, already available in the invisible realm, and that it is Spirit's nature to seek expression. And so we claim and know and open ourselves to the unfolding of that good. For our good is assured, for we are living in the kingdom. And so I speak this word not just about us, but I speak this word about every single person on this planet, knowing that the presence of Spirit envelops them, carries them, buoys them, fills their lives also, and that it right now is revealing itself as the fruition of whatever it is that they have been seeking and needing and yearning for. For good is the nature of each and every person's life. I speak this word also about our world leaders, policymakers, politicians, decision makers, knowing that the fullness of the presence of Spirit and all the intelligence that it is lives within their hearts and their minds. And right now it is revealing itself in a greater way, in a fuller way, as some new idea, some new way forward that supports humanity, that supports this planet, that supports humanity living in peace and in unity and in oneness. For that is the kingdom, and it is making itself real right now in form on this planet. And so as we open ourselves to it, we create a greater way for it to flow into our lives. And being that there is only one life, one collective consciousness, that means it is flowing everywhere. And so it is with gratitude that I release this word into the law of the universe, knowing that it is reflected back upon each and every single one of us as these words in form. And so it is with gratitude that I release this word and I say, and so it is. So I do have some invitations for you. We have a class that is starting this week. It is called Infinite You as the Universe. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. It is a 6-week class that is really not an education learning class, but an inner exploration kind of class. It's about doing our spiritual work and getting really in touch with that. We're learning about the principle of oneness, the reciprocal nature of the universe, and the direct impact understanding all of that can have in our lives as well. The class is $145. There is a required book that is This Thing Called You. If you're signed up for the class already and you don't have the book, it's available on Amazon. If you don't have Amazon Prime and you'd like me to order it for you, tell me today. I also brought your workbooks. So if you've signed up for the class already, take a workbook with you today. And we'll see you at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. Also, Mike and Pat are continuing to do an outreach with the homeless people in Long Beach. So if you'd like to join them, talk to Pat Scott. Will you raise your hand? There's also a sign-up sheet in the back. We have prayer support after service. If you would like to sit with a practitioner, they are happy to sit and pray with you. Will you raise your hand if you're a practitioner? And we have a ministry of prayer box in the back. You can fill out a prayer request. We will support you during the week. We have prayer shawls that have been created in that energy of prayer. The practitioners are happy to pray over them for a particular desired outcome for you if you'd like to take one with you to gift to someone or to gift to yourself. And follow us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram and Meetup. And so I invite you to repeat after me, good fills my life now.
Good fills my life now.
I step into it.
I step into it.
I own it.
I own it.
I celebrate it.
I own it.
And so it is.
And so it is.